Counselor Accents Podcast. Two school counselors who love their jobs. Oh, and they happen to have Southern accents too. Bless their hearts.
Welcome to Counselor's Accents. We're coming to you in a little bit of a different format, and as you can tell, you're going to hear children and husbands and everything else, as the rest of the nation are doing. We are at home. Laura's last day of school was today.
Yep, I went in. I'm done for at least 3 weeks, and who knows, maybe longer.
And to update you on myself, 3 weeks ago, my little boy came down with a virus, not coronavirus, but another virus that turned into pneumonia, and we ended up in the hospital, and he ended up on a ventilator. So I've been out of school for the first time in my career, out for any extended period of time. It ended up being 3 weeks that I was out. So we are it's kind of surreal, Laura, to have happened, just come off the heels of what the rest of America is afraid might happen, and
Right.
in the hospital and to end up on a ventilator. But he's doing very well, and he's actually sitting over here across from me right now. So
He's our producer, so
he loves a good podcast, so he's sitting over here and he's doing really well. So anyway, and that's kind of our introduction into what we're going to be talking about today, and is that I've been home for 3 weeks due to an illness, and most of America now are going to be home due to this coronavirus.
And let me just say that explains why, to our avid listeners, our dedicated listeners, if you have been missing the cat pick of the week, that explains why you haven't been getting it, because we had to go pull some episodes from the archives back. We had started a podcast back earlier in the season, thank goodness.
And said we wouldn't use those, and we pulled them out, and hey, they're workable. They're workable.
Yeah.
So it's strange times.
It is.
But
Today felt very, very weird. One of the coworkers said it felt like something from Stranger Things today. It just
absolutely,
everything felt weird. We had like 60 kids in attendance overall, and we're trying to figure out how to feed them for the next 3 weeks, and dividing the lines between what's our responsibility as a school and still working. We're still giving them assignments and everything, but then not crossing lines, and just trying to figure out what to do and how to take care of this situation that, I don't know, we watched Frozen 2 last night as a family, and the song Into the Unknown came on, and I was like, that's where we are. We are going into the unknown.
Yeah. And, I know, Laura, as I said, I've been kind of out of pocket with this illness, and thank God that that he got us through this. But I know you feel kind of like you're in a bubble, that you're the only person going through this, but it's something that we're sharing throughout the nation. We're all sharing this sense of uncertainty all together.
Right.
So it makes it a very different kind of thing. But I know that, like I said, I've been out for 3 weeks, but for you in our county anyway, and I think for most of Alabama, we were told by the governor that we would get out on Thursday would be our first day out. And then as the things began to develop more rapidly, you ended up this being, now technically we're still at working. We're just not working in a school building. But I know that one of the things you shared with me was how strange it feels you didn't have time where you thought you were going to have those days. Well, actually they ended up telling the kids, don't come if you don't have to come. And most parents didn't send their kids, so you really didn't have that time that you thought you were going to have.
Yeah, I think the thing that got me the most, and I know every school counselor across America can identify with this, for many students across the nation, school is a safe haven. And so what hurts me the most is thinking that we are now relegating these students to the place that causes the most emotional, physical, and psychological trauma, and that's their home. And so I know some counselors were discussing last night, how do we come up with a way for them to self-report. But the problem is, just like a lobster being boiled in a pot, sometimes you don't realize you're in a bad situation. It takes another set of eyes and another set of ears to say, that's not okay. And so I counted on seeing my kids and talking to them and, just rescuing them. And I thought, one side of my brain is saying, well, it was almost summer anyway. But it's like I can mentally prepare for summer. But this, I told you, I thought I'd have more time. I wasn't ready to give them up yet. Because we are in the unknown. We don't know. Like they've said 3 weeks, but the reality is, I don't know if we'll go back.
Right. Absolutely. And I want to ask you in just a second what you would have done differently, because there are some counselors who will have, not all states have dismissed schools yet. I think they're headed toward that. And from what I have been, picking up on social media, is that some schools are starting to meet to talk about dismissing. So I want to ask you I'll just go ahead and ask you, what would you advise folks who may have a couple more days with their students? And while you think about that, let me throw this out. What I have read is to give students the idea of starting a gratitude journal. And you may have heard this too, like send them with a notebook, or just tell them, this is what I want you to do. I want you to look for something to be grateful for every day. And so that might be, there was something that just flew by. I'm not just doing this. That might be an easy, quick thing. But what would you suggest for those who don't have? Would it be a final check-in?
That's what I was thinking. We started our year with minute meetings where we met with every student and we ask intentional questions. And so it might be just to ask those questions again, or even just condense it for more time. Just condense those questions and do one more check-in to make sure nothing had changed, and to just get that gut feeling that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think also when you said gratitude journal, that made me think maybe just one last coping skills lesson, just to show them, hey, these are the things that you do in hard times. And, hopefully this is going to just dissipate as quickly as it came on us. But kids are scared. A lot of people are scared. And so maybe just teaching them a way to deal with fear.
Absolutely. And so I think that's good advice. And I wish that we had the luxury of knowing that it was going to be cut off so quickly. But if you do, those are some things that we would encourage you to do. So we wanted to talk today about starting this acclimation process of working from home. So what are some suggestions? I know, what are some things that your thoughts go to when you think about that?
Well, I do think about how this is uncharted territory. I sent an email to my pastor this morning just saying, hey, listen, I know nobody knows what to do right now. We're all trying to figure out what's the best practice for something that we haven't experienced in our generation. So I would say the first thing would be, don't just sit around worrying. Maybe turn the news off. Close out social media, because that's where a lot of the scary stuff comes from. And so it's a fine line between being aware, having awareness, and but not being scared.
Okay, Laura, sorry for that interruption, and clearly we've gone from day to night. But I had, I see the glare from my glasses. Is that what you're laughing about?
No, I'm laughing at our life.
I know. I had to go, and so I called. I had to get more oxygen for Clanton, who I told you, my little boy who was in the hospital. And it's very weird, but you would think that it would be this going to get his oxygen. The machine, they're changing out machines. You'd think that I would go into the facility and they'd have some training. No, I met in the parking lot. I met the guy in the parking lot. It's like we were doing a drug deal.
Was he smoking a cigarette, or
he was just sitting there and he goes, "Hey, doll, here's your oxygen." So I loaded up the oxygen and handed him my oxygen. It was hilarious. It was just funny. So
I'm worried about you and your shenanigans.
I know my shenanigans, but I will tell you this one shenanigan.
Okay.
So Clanton is now on the BiPAP machine, which I know a lot of people use CPAP and BiPAP. So he's on a BiPAP machine, and it's like, this little fella, and he looks like how those things look, like the thing coming out, and he looks like an astronaut. So so he's recovering from this pneumonia, and he has all this. And so they told me to wash it and hang the hose over hang it over to let it dry. So hang it over the shower or whatever. So I washed it, hung it over the shower, and I decided I would help it dry. So I get the hair dryer.
Oh no.
This is helping him breathe. And it just disintegrates. It just melts. Yes. And so I had been given the machine at UAB Hospital in Birmingham, and so the guy had given me his number. The guy had given me his number. At the time, I thought he might be hitting on me. Clearly, people do stupid stuff, and you've got to have, as I call it, oxygen. So I called him. It's like 10 o'clock, and I'm like, "Russell, do you remember me? You brought this to the house." I said, "I burnt the hose up with the hairdryer," which he busted out laughing. And he said, "Well, it's in Birmingham, and that's, a couple hour drive, and it's 10 o'clock. And I said, "We'll be fine tonight." Well, Clanton and I set up so that he, I was afraid he wouldn't breathe. So we set up. It's pitiful. So Sunday, again, another one of those weird stories where he told me he'd leave it in his mailbox.
Oh.
So I drove to Birmingham and got the hose out of his mailbox.
I'm worried about you.
I'm worried about myself. I mean, you think these things are in some sacred vault, and they would bring out these life-giving oxygen and the material that you would need. And it's like, it's in the mailbox. This was another guy. That was Russell, and this was Greg that met me today. I know. It just, maybe I'm just meeting men, and it's not to get medical supplies.
Please write a book. Write a book with your shenanigans.
So anyway, I think we had got to the point where we were talking about, now we're home.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a period of acclimation to get used to being at home.
Like the fact that you could hear my dog snorting just now. I'm not used to that. I'm not used to hearing my dog snort at all hours of the day. I'm going to be hearing that at 11 a.m. now.
I know. So even though we are still technically at work, we're not in our physical workplaces. So you had talked briefly about not being depressed.
Yeah. Yeah, because the worry is just so thick right now. Kids are worried, and I had a hard time thinking about how to explain it to my own little girl, because I don't want her to be scared. So she said something about, when am I going to go back to school? And the reality is I don't know what to tell her right now. She doesn't really have a concept of how many weeks. She's in kindergarten. But, I just had to say, we're going to stay up late and watch movies and play games. And so I tried to make it seem fun to her.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's just hard.
It is. It's hard for all. It's hard for parents. It's hard for kids, and to wrap our heads around these changes that we're seeing. So I think one of the things that we both want to be during this time is productive. Now, I do know, because I have been reading some of the threads out there through ASCA, and a lot of folks are planning on staying in touch with their students, getting material out via social media. We're still so new to this has just happened that, we're not really sure how that part is going to look, because we want to make sure that we're following HIPAA protocol. But we still can be productive. That cough. We can still be productive, and I think that by being productive, that's going to help us with our feelings that we have of detachment from our students or whatever. So what are some things and ways that you think that we can be productive?
Well, I just think looking at what are the great things that I did this year and what could have used improvement, just kind of a self-evaluation review of the year. And, the year may be over and it may not, but it's a great
time. You have some time now to reflect.
Right. So it's a great time to take a deep breath and look back and think, okay, maybe I have another 6 weeks. Maybe I don't. If I have 6 weeks, what do I want to do with them? What do I want to, we don't know when we are going to get back with our kids, and we don't know what kind of way they're going to be feeling when we do get back with them. So I think it's going to be kind of like I can prepare for all different scenarios because I have time, and get lessons together based on how they're feeling.
And even going forward, thinking about next year.
Yeah.
I know that one of the things I want to do is go ahead and lay out plans for what my year, maybe do a tentative schedule.
Yeah.
While I'm right in the middle and fresh, not really in the middle, we're at the end of the school year, but while it's fresh on my mind, some of the things like you said that work, and then look at, while I have time, some scheduling things that I can do differently, what I want to add to the program, what didn't work, what I want to take away. So those are some of the things we can work on.
And we have a guide that you can download that will kind of walk you through that, just a reflection and if you could dream of your perfect school counseling program, what would that look like? And it'll just kind of walk you through. And I hope it's helpful to people during this time. Maybe it'll keep you from going stir crazy for a little bit if you sit down with a snack and work on it.
Yeah, and that's free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, free. Go to our website.
It's something that would be a tool, something we can look at and actually get started.
I'll put it in the notes for this podcast as well.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
You said work on lessons for next year. Just kind of look at those events, like September is National Attendance Month. Sometimes you get so into the school year that it's November, and
absolutely,
you've missed National School Counseling Week. You realize, oh goodness, it's Red Ribbon Week, and so this will give you a chance to be intentional with those things. Go ahead and think about your Meet the Counselor lesson for the year, and then think about what you want to do for September, Attendance Awareness Month, and just kind of look at those monthly events. And our guide has that. And again, it's free. I'm not trying to plug something here. It's free. Go get it. I want you to have it. But it guides you through how to put your awareness months and plan your activities around that too. So
very good.
Yeah. Something else that when I thought, okay, what are the things that I always wish I could do? And you mentioned this, create a brochure. I created a brochure when I first became a school counselor, and I haven't touched it since. So I've had a baby since then, and it still just mentions my one child, and my poor second child just doesn't get mentioned. So, updating that or creating one if you haven't done that. When was the last time you updated yours?
It's been a couple of years, but in my world, at my age, a couple of years could have been 10 years ago. I'm gonna be honest.
Could have been a decade or two.
Last week, and then it could somebody else say no, that was 2 years ago.
Oh,
So it needs updating for sure. So those are some things that you're working on your program. You're being productive, and you're worried about our kiddos, but like we said, worry is futile. It doesn't. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And I know you're a history buff, so
such a history buff. Yeah.
So that serves no purpose. So to be busy, and that you're helping your students when you're preparing this way and doing things. So
I'm going to throw one out at you.
Okay.
Get your resume together. And it doesn't mean that you're going anywhere, but it's always good to have an updated resume if you speak somewhere or
you've been to those professional developments that show you've had training in those areas.
Right.
Yeah.
So update your resume, because that's something that you don't think about and don't have time for really ever.
Absolutely. What else do you have there, Laura?
Allow time for, once we've done all the things, then we need to start thinking about bringing students back in. And so let's imagine for a second what that's going to look like. When you think about students coming back in, let's just say after 3 weeks, in your mind, what does that look like?
This is the deal. We're right here at testing season for most counselors, and that's basically all the way up, because even high school ACT and we're given the ACAP in Alabama or whatever your state's testing is, that generally happens in spring. So I know that's not exactly what you're asking, but my mind goes to generally, I hear the babies.
Yeah.
Generally, we're in testing mode.
Yeah.
And so to think that I don't know what's going to happen there, if that's the thing that we're going to hit is go straight into testing. I can imagine that, but I don't know how that's going to look. But other than that, I think that what I'm going to do is make sure that I get into the classrooms as quickly as possible and start up my small groups as quickly as possible. And those students who are on my radar, pull those students immediately and see, and like I said, a lot of counselors are doing different things across the United States from what I'm reading. Some counselors are doing that. I mean, some are actually, from what I've read, will meet face to face at the school with the student. I don't know what that would look like for every district and every policy. I know some schools are cleaned out and they want you to stay out.
Right.
After they're cleaned, you're not coming back in. So for different, I guess it's just going to be according to your school system what you're able and allowed to do. But if it's just we go back in, that's exactly how I see that happening, is me meeting with those students who are my greatest need students. And all the other responsibilities that have to be put on hold, like we have response to intervention, thinking about those tiered students, those students who were tested for special ed.
Right.
How is all that going to be crunched in to an end of the year thing? Those are things that are on my mind, but that's of little importance in light of what's going on. And
Right.
it will, I hope those are the things that we're getting to worry about when we go back.
Right.
So how do you see this looking?
Well, I think that Kim and I have both been sick also. And
do not throw me under.
You gave this to me when I came to the hospital to visit.
That's true.
Ever since then,
blame me who had the child in the hospital. Please blame me.
But anyway, I think you handled the question about how do we help our students once we get back perfectly. I'm going to throw this at you. What about our teachers? They're going to be overwhelmed, and they are looking at the same things that our students are, testing possibility. the fact that, okay, we do have some students who are being tested, or we have some students who are receiving intervention. And at the time when we go back, will they have had enough time to bring their grade up to where they can move on to the next grade? Or are we going to, what are we looking at there? Are we going to retain 350 students because they didn't finish the year?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
This is ground that hasn't been, would I say, trodden?
Just say it. I've never known you not to say what you're thinking.
Okay. And so we don't, we don't know. We've never had to do this before. We had a tornado that came through our state, and it went through a lot of states. And was it 2011?
It was.
And that took us out of school for a lengthy amount of time. And that's the only thing I can kind of compare this to. But this is still different because we could come together and we could love on each other and we could support each other and worship together, and now it's like you're in isolation, so it's a little bit different. I don't know what this will do for the mental health portion of what we do, because like we've said, we're the gatekeepers for mental health, and this is hitting that anxiety button.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to learn a lot through this. I will say that there are some resources, and I may be jumping ahead. If I am, stop me, Laura. But ASCA has a page about the coronavirus, and I don't see it. I was going to read what all the resources they have, but you can go there, and it has updates like for ACT testing. It has ideas for lessons. It has ideas for talking to kids about fear of this virus. So a lot of resources are coming just for counselors. It's at the ASCA website, I imagine, just under coronavirus. So that's there. Good. I know our county has shared brain pops for kids to look at. And there are also, I think our teachers have done a great job about getting resources academically. There are so many resources, but what do we have for the mental health part of this? Yeah. So anyway, that's a resource that you can look at, and I think what I'm seeing is, I think counselors are talking with one another, and they're Google hanging out and getting some ideas and things. And this is the time that we are a special breed. There's generally just 1, 2, or 3, whatever, very small number in each school of school counselors. So what we do is specific, and everybody has their niche, and this is ours. And like I said, this is kind of hitting us. We're the mental health and the counseling and all of the things that we do, kind of hitting us head on. So
you made me.
Yeah, go ahead.
You made me think of something. When I think of mental health, it's not just counseling and talking someone through their feelings and that part of it. I think of positivity and spreading joy as well. And this is kind of going into my pick of the week, so I don't want a spoiler here. But there are so many things that have come out, like virtual field trips, which we've talked about before, but there are so many museums and stuff that are doing virtual field trips. And we were just talking about a weatherman in our area that's like a huge deal. He's not just in our area, but he's sharing
James Spann.
Yeah. He's sharing a weather class with students, and it's all ages. He said all ages would enjoy it. There are like Mo Williams, the pigeon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Elephant and Piggy. He's sharing an illustration class, teaching kids online every day at a certain time, what time or how to draw.
Great.
Yep. And so I'm thinking, this was inspired just now as you were talking, maybe if I share this out every day, some joy bomb, we'll call it, on our social media, just a video saying, hey guys. And I know a lot of schools are like reading a book and, posting that. There's always, I know a couple of years ago, it was pretty big to read a good night story at nighttime. Our school did that in our school system. But I don't know, just posting something every day. Like today's activity that we're going to bring you is the Pete the Cat author is doing a live virtual story time every day at 11, I think. So anyway, there are lots of things out there that maybe we can't come together like you were talking about during the tornadoes, but people are still figuring out a way to support each other in this time.
Absolutely. It's so exciting to see. I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea. And I got excited with you telling me some things that we did have available and to get those
Yeah.
out to our students. So,
Well, I'll talk a little bit more about it in my pick of the week. So,
very good. Well, does that lead us into our pick of the week?
it might. I'm looking back over. I think, yep, we're ready for our pick of the week.
Well, you know where my pick of the week is? Where we started out.
Okay.
Share your pick of the week and I'll be right back.
Tell us your pick of the week.
My pick of the week is, and I had this in my hand earlier and now I do not, it's Patricia. I'm looking around like it's just going to appear right here. It's Patricia Paloka's, is it Paloka? I've always had a little bit of trouble with that. Book, Fiona's Lace, which makes me a little sad, was going to do with my students for St. Patrick's Day. But, and I had my dress.
Oh boy.
It's ready to go.
I wish you'd be prepared for these things. I wish you'd be prepared.
I know. And so I'm showing my dress. And if you are,
Oh,
it is a St. Patrick's Day dress. So, and I was going to read Fiona's Lace, and I had ordered my lace to hang up and to decorate. But the book is a St. Patrick's Day book, and it's so timely because it's children whose family find themselves in a along with the rest of their country in a dire situation, and that's why they end up in America. And so anyway, it's a really good book, as all of her books are. But I ended up, she was coming to Parkside School where I teach. And so she came while we were at the hospital, so I missed her. So the teachers went and got my books.
oh,
I have a whole section of her books, as a lot of counselors do use her books in their counseling. And so she did sign those for me. So my pick of the week is it's a great read for St. Patrick's Day. But any of her books are a great read at any time. So that's my pick.
I need to ask you, can you hear my dog licking himself?
I thought that was you, and I didn't want to say anything.
We're on like hour 3 of quarantine, and I am not going to make it with this dog licking himself and making these noises.
I cannot hear the dog.
Okay, good. Well, he's disgusting. Okay. My pick of the week, like I said a minute ago, well, let me start here. One of your favorites, and mine too, Mr. Rogers, and this has been shared all over social media, but there's a quote from him that says, when I was a little boy and I would see scary things happen, my mother would say, always look for the helpers. And I think that's so timely. I just got chill bumps saying it. I just got chills. And I think that's our job too, is to be on the helping team to figure out ways to help. And I've just been so blessed by seeing in our own community churches coming together and calling me and saying, we've got meals here. We want to bring them to your school to the students who need them. I saw a video of a school bus that was going around to different places and taking lunches to kids who needed lunches. And that's been just at the forefront of everybody's mind. How are these kids going to eat? And I saw somebody else say something like, please realize that during this time, it's become, how are our kids going to eat? Where are my children going to stay? School is so much more than just academics. it becomes a second home for these kids that provides their food and provides their safety. Again, with the chills, I just got chills again.
What is this accent? Again, with the chills.
Anyway, so I've just seen all these people coming together to help each other and post these videos, and homeschool parents saying welcome to the jungle, but seriously, if you need any help, I'm here to help you as you navigate these uncharted waters of homeschooling. And
That's
so
exciting. It's very exciting. That kind of goes back to what we're talking about, the gratitude journal.
Yeah.
And just looking every day, instead of looking at the negative, look at the positive.
Yeah.
And that's, you can find blessings everywhere. And even in the midst of the last 3 weeks being in the hospital, and even in the midst to get through, I would try to focus on any small thing became a big thing, just a cup of coffee, a kind word from a nurse. So any situation that we find ourselves in, if we look for gratitude and look for blessings, we're going to see them because we are so blessed.
You're right. And on the other side of this, I don't think that we'll look at the shelves at the grocery store the same way again, because we've seen them be empty. And we know what that feels like to go in and you think, oh my goodness, my kids eat macaroni and cheese. What are they going to eat this week? Yeah. Or, you hear the stories about the 94-year-old man that just needed a roll of toilet paper. He didn't know what was going on. He just needed toilet paper. And, these seniors that have worked so hard to graduate, now they may not get a prom, and their sports. My husband coaches soccer, and his soccer season is over, and the kids were very upset about it because they've practiced and trained and worked for it.
Yeah. So much. So too much to wrap our brains around.
Yeah.
And it's a lot for everybody too. But if we stick together and keep our heads above and look for things to be grateful for, we'll get through.
Yeah, I didn't mean for that to be sad. I meant for it to be, we're going to appreciate those things on the other
side. Well, that's what adversity does. It teaches us to appreciate the good days. So anyway, any day with you is a good day though, Laura. Even though we're not getting to see each other, we are getting to see. We're not physically in each other's presence, but we can see each other through social media, and that's a great thing. It is. It is. So
Cat Pick of the Week.
Take advantage of being able to use these Google Hangouts and Meets and Zoom and all that to meet up with folks.
Yeah. Cat Pick of the Week.
I don't know what to tell you, Laura. I've been in the hospital. I don't have cat pick of the week.
You couldn't find one cat.
I am not even looking. I'm rebelling against the cat. Show me your cat pick. Make me laugh with your cat pick, please. I need to laugh, Laura.
I'm going to make you laugh, but I don't want it to be offensive. So if you're easily offended, go ahead and log off now. But there is a cat pic circulating about what kids look like when they cough. And I don't mean for the cough to be offensive in this time, but I'm going to hold it up, but I'm also going to post it. It is the funniest thing. Actually, I'm just going to post it. Go. Whoops. All right. So there's the cat. And that is my little girl that I just did the side-by-side picture of, because that's really how little kids cough. That's how she coughs.
That is. And that cat looks just like that little kid cough.
Yeah.
That is so sweet. It's sweet. Your little girl.
I know, it's hilarious.
Making the same face. But
all right. Do you have a tip, trick, or technique to share? And I'm going to guess no. You're going to ride my coattails on that one?
Yes. I'm going back to the hospital, Laura. I'm just going to ride that thing out. No, I would advise you to, I think my tip would be to look at the ASCA coronavirus tips that they have on the website and use those. What is your tip?
Well, my tip of the week comes from my favorite professor, Dr. Karen Townsend, who I talk about, I think, nearly every podcast as I've been going back through and editing them and everything. I talk about her all the time, like I'm a stalker. But I love her so much. But anyway, she shared, huh?
She is wonderful. I just know her through you, and she's wonderful.
She shared this technique. She talked about a student. Well, no, I've used it with a student, but she's the one who taught it to me. Students who are having bad dreams, or let's just say any kind of fear. Of course, there are fears that you couldn't do it with, but this one student was having a bad dream that a monster was chasing her. So I met with the student and had her draw the dream, draw the monster chasing her. Do you hear my dog?
I didn't know what that was.
That's my dog. Anyway, draw a picture with the monster chasing her, and we talked about that and why it was scary. And then I challenged her, turn it into something funny. What could you add to this picture to make it funny? And so she made it to where the monster was saying, I just want a hug, and that's why he was chasing her. And guess what happened to the bad dream? It went away.
Amazing.
I'm not. Dr. Townsend is.
That's great.
Yeah. So in this time of fear and unknown, maybe figure out a way to change the scary into something good. I think that's what we were just talking about, but change it into something good. How can we help? How can we
as Mr. Rogers says, look for the helpers as we are seeing all the way around us. So that's a good tip. Very good. And I do want times of these things that are coming up, because I can use them with my little boy, the Mo Williams and all of that. So that'd be great. Well, hang in, everybody.
Let me say a few things. Number one, if you're listening to this podcast, we would love it if you would subscribe and review, unless your comments are negative, and then don't review it. But if your comments are positive, we'd love for you to review it and definitely subscribe. And can I just say that New Jersey is very close to being our number one state that's listened to us? New Jersey.
And my Greg, who met me in the parking lot with the oxygen, his son is in New Jersey, and he's been quarantined because his coworker just tested positive. So prayers for all the folks out there who are tested positive, and all the people who are quarantined because they're waiting on, they're going to test him in 2 days. So I said, I'd say a little prayer for him. So that his son is actually in New Jersey right now. So
you just did the opposite of the technique that I shared, which was take something scary and turn it into something good. You took something good and turned it into something scary.
Do you see what I did there? Well, you said New Jersey, and it made me think of Greg in the park. It made me think oxygen, Greg, parking lot. His son is in New Jersey.
I got you. Well, here's the other exciting thing. Canada. We see you, Canada. You're listening to us too. That's exciting to me. We're sorry. We're sorry for the way that we talk and the things that we say that don't make sense. But thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening anyway.
Yeah. So listen and subscribe. And we would love also if you would join our Facebook page and tag us on Instagram with some of your great ideas, because we want to learn from you as well. Obviously, we have lots to learn.
I'm pointing to you. Lots to learn, Laura. Okay. I'm out. How about you?
I just don't want to. I don't want to end it. This has just been so great. Spending time with you. It's been too long.
I know it. I'm glad to be home, and glad to be. Even though I'm home now though, and glad. But we're gonna get busy now and be productive.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
I don't know how to turn it off.